Of all the forces in the universe, death has remained a mystery. But now, a psychopathic genius...
He is dead.
He's alive.
That's impossible.
...has discovered the secret to immortality.
The body dies, the consciousness lives on.
In another brain.
And someone will inherit his murderous legacy.
I'm watching you. And I'm watching you.
On the next Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
There's a bigger issue here. Just because a group of people belong to the Federation, it does not mean that they are saints. The trouble is Earth. On Earth, there is no poverty, no crime, no war. You look out the window of Starfleet headquarters and you see paradise. Well, it's easy to be a saint in paradise. Out there, all the problems haven't been solved yet. Out there are no saints, just people. Angry, scared, determined people who are going to do whatever it takes to survive.
What I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't?
My dear doctor, they're all true.
Even the lies.
Especially the lies.
On behalf of the Bajoran government
And the Promenade Merchants Association.
I officially welcome you to Deep Space Nine.
Hello, around there in podcast land. Welcome to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast, part of the Front Row Network and NPR Illinois Community Voices. We're a group of newbies watching Deep Space Nine for the very first time, and a group of folks who have watched DS9 a little bit too much. And we are here today to talk about The Passenger, Season 1. I'm Scott, and with me is...
I'm Lily.
Christopher.
Jessi.
Prentice.
Mike, Nicole, and Shannon suck.
All of them.
All of them. And Blake. They suck too. For some reason, it's the dead of winter and people are getting sick. So what are you going to do? But they'll be back, maybe, if we let them. Before we get started, please remember to click all the links down below. We've got our social medias listed there. We are on Twitter, Blue Sky, Facebook, Instagram, and we also have our Patreon too. If you join our Patreon, you get access to our Discord server, which has both a non-spoiler and a spoiler chat. And also we're on Facebook too, where you can go watch Jessi yell at people. So you should definitely check that out as well. Hi, Facebookers. Hi.
That just sounds derogatory.
Well, I mean, the posts were derogatory too. Okay, and a special thank you to our producers listed down below. These are our members of our Patreon who are joining with the highest tier and provide support every single month. And one of those producers got yelled at by Jessi. Go ahead and it's okay. You can stay a producer. Don't run away. Jessi won't bite too much. It's fine.
Well,
Leave
just
your
stay
money.
in your lane and you'll be fine.
Damn.
You're just egging it on. Aren't you?
I am at this point, and hopefully he's laughing.
Stir in the pot. How else can I piss people off today? Oh wait.
I don't know. Like I said, like this episode, we could be.
You could yell at me.
Yeah. Again, Jessi today was the one causing shit, but Christopher, you always cause shit.
To be fair, I
Somebody
didn't
needs to.
cause said shit.
To be
People
fair.
who think that, never mind. That's
Okay,
what.
somebody on our Facebook called Bashir a twink. I didn't even realize that until I read it the second time.
Wow.
I was like,
Yes, they did.
They said
Yeah,
the
they
twink
did.
doctor. I'm like, what?
Yep, that was definitely there.
So join our social medias. It's a hoot.
What you
But we're
Google
also on
your-
We're also on
on-
TikTok when I remember to post.
What you Google on your porn search is none of our business. Please keep that shit to yourself. Thank you.
Ooh.
What is who? By the way, we did get another suggestion for our t-shirts. Since Narn Hub did so well for us, the request has been Morn Hub. Now, the newbies don't really know Morn, but the people who've been around for a while, they know and love Morn. So Morn Hub, we may have to try it again to see if we get another restraining order. We'll see.
I have one too, but I'm gonna save it for my
You're gonna
my
save
first
it?
impressions.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to go ahead and get started. But before we do, please also, I forgot to mention this this earlier, be sure to leave a review on either Apple, Audible, or Spotify. We've actually gotten a lot of reviews in, so thank you so much. I've actually got like a little queue going, so I've got several weeks already, but please send more in because every 5-star review absolutely helps to get people to see us more because it will pop up on the search engines, and that will help us grow. So thank you. Jessi has her hand up. Jessi,
Are you going to read mine?
No, I'm not going to read yours. Besides, you be third week in the queue, so you're not there right now.
Ooh,
What I was going to say is we joked about Saluki review last week, and we were questioning if Saluki actually was from Canada.
She does exist.
They did reach out to us and said, yes, I am in Canada. And we are actually the 43rd top-rated TV review podcast in Canada.
Feel free to boo us.
Yeah, I'm going to say, please go ahead and boo us. We will allow it. Speaking of that, we did get, again, more reviews in. So here is one from Bryant Burnett. And he says, good look at a classic series. I enjoyed the host's previous podcast, Grey 17, which was about Babylon 5. They've ported the format over to another sci-fi classic from the same era. Personally, I've never been as big of a Deep Space Nine fan as I am a fan of TOS, TNG, and even Voyager. I'm not going to hold that against you. That was me saying that. I'm not going to hold that against you. They continue. I've got some core issues with what I've never been able to resolve. Well, we'll work on that with you over the next 7 years. We'll see how it goes. Still, I do love it a lot of the time, and this podcast is reminding me of that. It's also reminding me of what it was like when the series first began. It was very much an open question and stayed one for years, whether the series could or would ever be beloved in the way the first 2 Trek shows had been. As I'm listening to these podcast episodes, I'm remembering how unusual DS9 felt and how that was both exciting and troubling. This podcast has brought that back, which is fun. And it's also emphasizing something, yeah, for sure. DS9 eventually did become a classic as both TOS and TNG. Not for everyone, maybe. In some ways, that only makes it much more special. This podcast puts me right back at the beginning and also answers the questions I had back then. Very satisfying stuff. I look forward to the next few years. Oh, and Jessi rules. So does everyone else, but Jessi in particular.
And I didn't write that one.
No,
So
you did not write that one. You wrote the Not Jessi from DS9 podcast review.
I would never do that.
I mean, if you're going to fake a review, at least not put this is not me.
You get what you get with me, you know.
That's true. And again, if you go to our Facebook, you'll get whatever you get from Jessi.
Just be nice, and I'm nice to you. That's how this works.
Okay, speaking about DS9 being different and odd from TOS and TNG, let's talk about an episode that was a direct copy from TNG, The Passenger. Prentice, do you have a synopsis for us?
I absolutely do. An alien criminal attempting to prolong his life hides his consciousness inside the mind of a station crew member, and Bashir has a creepy voice.
We'll talk about it. Let's go ahead and get our first impressions from our 2 newbies this week. Christopher, first impressions on the 5th time you've watched The Passenger, apparently.
It was 4.
Okay.
Still too many.
And yes, and out of 10, that is what I would give this episode. It was okay. The premise was interesting, but it's been done before. The doctor's a pompous ass, but also a good creepy villain, and I kind of liked it. But I did think it brought an interesting point to what would you do to prolong your life? And is killing someone ever justified? That's what I got out of this episode.
And you had to really dig deep to get that out of the episode. Jessi, how about you? Tell us about crime.
I'm not dealing with your shit today, Christopher. I will not be sucked into your bullshit evaluations of a fucking episode that I don't even remember what happened. Okay, so I watched it one time, not 4, and I don't even fucking remember what happened. I've got the synopsis, and now I kind of remember what happened, but it was a pretty meh episode. I did, however, come up with one new thing. So I can't unsee Fork's ears, okay? Every fucking time I see him, I'm
It's like when you get a dick pic, it just stays there with you, doesn't it?
Right, on his unsolicited ear pics. And no fucking thank you. And
there's another meme for you.
I mean, he kind of does have that little like divot on the top of his head, and then like the ears kind of go around. It could be just an uncircumcised.
God damn it, Christopher.
Jesus. That escalated quickly.
Thought he was an alien.
Just the tip. Okay, so I can't unsee the ears. Now every single time he's talking, I'm not any longer like looking at his fucked up face. I'm zoned in straight at his ears. And when the guy grabbed him, I'm like, oh, don't get too close to his fucking ears because you're gonna make him whatever. What's the name that you guys call it?
You're gonna make them woo.
I play too many Sims. I can't help it. Okay, so I came up with ear hub, right?
I like
Because I was trying to I'm like, okay, well, you can't.
All umaks all the time.
I'm fucking done. Okay, moving on.
Fun little Ferengi behind the scenes. Since Christopher was talking about, I guess, Quark's divot. If you watch a lot of Ferengis, they've got like the headpiece behind their head. That really is just budget. They actually, since Quark is going to be on almost every episode, they had more time to put together his prosthesis, and so they didn't have to cover up the back of his head with a little skirt. But most Ferengi you see will have that little, for lack of a better term, skirt. Just a little random fun stuff. Okay, let's go over to our folks who have watched the entire series. Emily, first impressions.
It's not one of the better episodes of season 1.
Which means it's not one of the better episodes at all of the entire show, because season 1 is the worst season.
Yeah, but I did actually like how it built up more on Cisco and Odo's relationship and like the struggle Odo is having with being security and what that used to mean and the changes now, and how Cisco views him and his role.
Prentice, how about yourself?
You know what? I have to say this episode is a little bit above average from what I've seen in the last couple episodes. A couple reasons. One, the Vantica stuff, I thought that was interesting. The funny, terrible part of this episode, it was the spirit of the red shirt was strong. On the Federation cargo ship, when you see those two guys in the jumpsuits, the gray jumpsuit, one of them gets shot immediately. The other dumb one runs back out onto the bridge, stays for a second, then gets shot by Vantica and the rest of his boarding party. I was like, that was the dumbest move I've ever seen. You should have stayed hidden or just walked the other way. But you jumped, you looked, you didn't move, and you got shot. That was the worst aspect of the episode for me. I was like, what are you doing? It was the guy, the homeboy in the flat top.
The homeboy in the flat top. He doesn't matter anymore. He dead anyway.
Sir, what are you doing? So, I mean, that was the worst part of the episode for me. I just laughed how terrible it was. But other than that, it was interesting sci-fi, the transference of the body into another being. Oh, also, I appreciate the dedication of Vantica's captor, whatever her name was. What was her name?
Kajada.
So she's the Dr. Loomis of this show right now, right? She's with this guy for 30 years. She wanted to make sure he was dead. No one believes her that he's still alive, and she is so dedicated, saying, listen, I need to make sure he's dead. Let me see the body. I'm going to stab him to make sure he's dead. Right. I thought that was hilarious. I was like, first of all,
in front of the doctor, too.
Great dedication. I appreciate that.
Do no harm, and he hands her the knife.
Well, you can't harm a dead corpse, so you give me a look like you can.
But you also don't have to mutilate them.
Well,
or allow other people to mutilate them.
Speaking of mutilating corpses, Jessi, I have a question for you.
Oh no.
Oh, what kind of segue is that? Okay, well, let's go. Let's see what that
I'm all about the transitions. Jessi, before we get to my first impressions, I have a question for you because you are the only newbie that was also a newbie on our B5 podcast. Did you recognize the actress who was playing Kajada?
Absolutely not.
It was Caitlin Brown, who was... Don't remember? No?
Was she Daylin? Because if not, then I don't...
Was she? That was the only one I remember. It was Jakar's attaché.
Oh, well, she's a lot less bald, right? Didn't she?
She's a lot less bald.
Was she bald in the... I don't remember. Listen, did we watch that show? I don't remember it.
Did we watch that show? Jesus.
No, I don't remember, but yeah, good call. Good talk. Love that. Doing great.
Well, on that note, we'll go ahead and keep going because I bet you Nicole would have figured it out.
She probably would have. Listen, Nicole's a lot better at a lot of things than I am. I suffered through most of the episodes.
She was the first Natoth of the two Natoths.
Yeah, she was on here a lot less alien-like.
Yeah, and she had less contacts, which was why she stopped being Natoth.
Right. Yeah, no, I do.
Handle the contacts.
Yeah, I do. Now that you said that, I do remember her. I did not know that was her, though. I wasn't.
She does a lot of guest starring in a lot of shows. You see Caitlin Brown a lot. But yeah, she's best known in B5 circles as the better Natoth. So yeah, for me, this episode is not good. It's one of the weakest ones for me. I think it was Ira Stephen Bear who said it best, that this could have been easily a TNG episode with Geordi instead of Bashir. There's nothing in this episode that gives our characters anything to be a DS9 show. It's just a cookie cutter from another show. I guess the only thing you could say is it does introduce Primin, which, by the way, was introduced because Colomini was off making a movie. So they needed somebody to take Colomini's lines. So Primin it is, the security guy, in case you forgot what his name was too.
I didn't know who you were talking about. Does he come back?
We'll find out.
Okay. I don't know if you don't know, but I don't really care that much.
But yeah, so that's my first impression, is it's completely and totally not good. So Prentice, I think you're going to be the one to defend it, because I don't like it. But it's definitely going to be more, or it's going to be interesting how you all feel about next week's episode, but we'll get to that in a little bit. So let's start. Yeah, we'll get to that next week. Yes, that's how that works. We are a weekly podcast. Christopher, thank you for reminding me.
Wait, I didn't sign up for this.
Okay, on that note, let's get on to this show still. Let's start chatting a little bit about the cusp of the episode, which is our good man Bashir being taken over by a scientific demon, I guess. I mean, because he's not like a spirit, a ghost. He's basically a clone. I don't know.
Can you be careful on how you label them? I don't want to piss anybody else off about ghosts.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Entity.
Unbodied, kind of like homeless are now. The homeless are now unhoused. We can be unbodied.
Unbodied. You are no longer allowed to call them ghosts. I've had enough. Can we end this now? Is it too early just to stop?
No, we still got a good 45 minutes. So, what do y'all think about the story itself?
The story's been done before. I think it was interesting. The execution was kind of rough. That's all it was. It was just rocky. It was a high concept, cookie cutter execution. It could have been better. Yeah. It could have been better. I admit that. But it was just a fun episode for me. I just like those kind of things. You see that a lot of sci-fi. So I was okay with it.
So the original pitch, when they were doing pitches for this episode, was it was going to be the cop who has been chasing around this criminal becomes the criminal. She gets infected or whatever by the dead guy. And they kind of did that as a red herring a little bit, like they played off like, oh, is she the one or whatever? But originally in the story, she was going to be that person. There also was talk of that potentially it would look more like kind of a reference to Silence of the Lambs, but then they said they didn't want to reference Silence of the Lambs because it was, 1993 and it was pretty soon after that.
It could have been an interesting concept, right? I mean, like I said, it did kind of give me the question, because he's trying to prolong his life because his species is dying, but their cells were decaying or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Like at least it made me think, what is it that you're going to do? What are you willing to do to extend your life? Are you willing to commit crime to extend your life? Are you willing to let others die to extend your life? And there's probably an interesting moral question there, but I don't think they didn't really execute it well.
There could have been a moral there. There
was
wasn't.
Absolutely not a moral question there, Christopher. We do not need to dig that deep. There was no, is it okay to murder somebody? No.
Clearly the writers didn't dig that deep, so we shouldn't have to either.
No, but like if you wanted to make the episode interesting, you could have.
No, we didn't. They didn't.
No one got the vibe. This seems like another Halloween movie.
Yeah, I like the Dr. Loomis reference. I mean, that makes
Dr.
sense.
Loomis. It was like, oh yeah, he's not dead, and oh no, he's dead. We finally got him. Blah blah blah. So it felt like Halloween in space.
We've already had Jason X, so it's about time.
He had Leprechaun. Didn't we have a Leprechaun in space, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, before the Leprechaun went back to the hood.
And the hood. Let's not forget about the hood, right? So with that being the case, that's why I'm saying, like, this is Halloween in space.
I want to point out that Warwick Davis, like yesterday, won a BAFTA. So the guy who played the Leprechaun.
Really? He finally won a BAFTA? Really?
He won a BAFTA, yeah.
27 years after the
Not for his work in Leprechaun. I guarantee that.
Well, we can always talk about Willow. That was a great movie.
Oh, yeah, have you watched that lately?
Well,
is it that bad? 30 years later?
It's not, listen, it's actually not. I watched it when I was little and I didn't remember it, so I wanted to watch it again. It's actually not that bad of a movie.
The only thing I can remember from that movie at this point in life, Willow, you idiot. I just remember
it turns into a goat. Yeah.
He turns into a goat.
I was going to say the same thing, not about the goat, but I remember that the special effects were really good for the 80s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then there was a spin-off on Disney Plus that Disney Plus like erased from existence. You can't even find it anymore.
Well, and that's why we watched the original one, because we were going to watch the spinoff, which again, I don't remember. And I know we watched it. But that's definitely one of those movies that you can watch when you get older. Unlike Never Ending Story. Please don't do that to yourself. Please don't do it.
Wait a minute. Don't talk about Never Ending Story. That's a treasure movie. I don't care if it looks like a flying poodle. I will still
do not mock Falcor.
Listen, I had a dog named Falcor. You can't talk to me about this movie.
So a few years ago, since we have nothing else to talk about, I'm going to talk about this. A few years ago was one of the anniversaries for Neverending Story. And so they were playing it in the movie theater, Fathom Events and all that. So we took my oldest daughter, who was at the time maybe 8 or 9, to see it. Before the movie, now we didn't even get there, Emily. You're shaking your head already. I know what you're thinking. We didn't even get there. So before the movie, they had a retrospective for like a half an hour. And they talked about how the horse died in the retrospective. So I'm like, well, way to fucking ruin the movie.
It is heartbreaking. Like, I remember that just being the most amazing movie I've like ever watched. I watched it and I was like, what the fuck was wrong with little me? Like, I am watching this show like when I was little and I was like, oh, the horse died. I'm now an adult, like, I can't handle it. I'm fucking like, I'm that person that can't watch John Wick because his dog dies. Now, if John Wick died and his dog was the one that took the revenge, that's a totally different story. But
so as long as Atreyu dies, you're fine.
Listen, all day long. But God forbid a dog dies, we're done.
By the way, if you watch Neverending Story 3, which I don't know why you would, Jack Black is one of the bullies.
I didn't even know that.
Wait, there's a 3?
There's like 5.
There's a third one?
Oh, yes.
He now has a quest to go watch it.
True. But when did that come out? When did the third one come out?
I remember seeing part 2 and part 3.
Part 2 and the Adventures of Oz, whatever the weird 1980 sequel.
Return to Oz. That is a good movie.
What? No, they're both horrible. What are you talking about?
No, when was the last time you watched Return to Oz?
Oh, God forbid. It was like maybe like 1993, something like that. I haven't watched it.
I watched Return to Oz because it's on Disney Plus. I watched Return to Oz with my kids like 6 months ago, and they loved it.
Really? It was kind of scary and weird.
Well, that's the whole point. It was like, if you go in thinking, oh, it's going to be a Wizard of Oz sequel. Nope. It's not. The wheelies are going to come and get you. And they fly around on a couch with a moose head on the front of it. That's alive.
That's kind of dark right there. But okay.
Go watch it.
Speaking of Kajada.
It's got Farousa Bulk.
Okay. You were looking for the third sequel. You said, what year did Wizard? I'm not Wizard.
I'm pulling it up.
Emily, you find anything good on eBay?
No. So you want to hear about the book I just read today?
Oh, yes. Was it like
smutty?
No, it was not smutty. It was for book club.
Okay, I've got it for you, Prentice. There was only 3. I lied. Although they're talking about doing a remake. But Neverending Story 1 came out in 1984. Neverending Story 2, The Next Chapter, came out in 1990. And Neverending Story 3, Escape from Fantasia, came out in 1994.
There's no way. I was old enough to know then, and I don't remember any of that.
The only thing I remember from Neverending Story 2, they changed the actor who plays what's his face, the main character. And what was that?
Atreyu?
No, Atreyu's the mythical one. I'm talking about the other kid.
Oh, the real world kid.
Yeah, Bastion.
Oh, yeah.
But in Neverending Story 2, Bastion is played by Jonathan Brandis, who
I had such a crush on him.
Yeah.
When I was little, he was in Ladybugs. Oh God, he was so cute. Isn't he dead now? Like, isn't he died?
Unfortunately, he unalived himself.
Oh, that's
Wait a minute, is that the same guy that was on like Galaxy? No, what was that show about the
Sequest?
Sequest. Thank you.
Sequest DSV and Sequest 2036 or whatever that was.
I don't know.
Did I get a minor in there?
I will never do a podcast on Sequest. The first season was okay. Then it wasn't.
So
okay.
Halloween in space again. So
where are we on all this?
No one knows.
Folks, I promise you, and I promise our newbies, it gets better. It really does.
It does.
Not next week, but it does.
Oh my God, it gets so much better next week. I don't know what the hell you're talking about.
I was actually watching, I saw a video on YouTube about the top 10 D Space Nine episodes. There is one episode, and I do agree with this list. There's one episode from season 1 on that top 10. It ain't this one. So, and Emily and Prentice are probably thinking, oh, I know which one.
Listen, it could have been worse. I watched TKO twice. So
well,
actually,
Christopher watched The Passenger 4 times, so he wins.
Do I?
Do I?
So let's dive into this a little bit more. Christopher tried desperately to give it a moral. We can't do that, so let's just make fun of Bashir for a while. How'd you guys feel about Bashir's voice?
It reminded me of Voldemort, like that wispy quality, that like weird. I hate it. Give me the creeps.
Look, I actually liked him in this episode. Like in both cases, like when he was being the pompous ass at the beginning, and Major Kira just wanted to punch the shit out of him.
Yeah.
It was so believable. Like I was there with her.
Michael Piller, again, co-creator and showrunner at this point, said that he liked this episode because it gave Alexander, the guy who plays Bashir, some meat to chew on. Now, Alexander Siddig will say this is his biggest failure of the first 2 seasons because he did not like this at all. And this is actually the second voice he tried. The first voice apparently sounded more like Bela Lugosi, like Dracula. I want to hear that, and I can't find any references to it, but I can just imagine Bashir walking around, I want to suck your blood. That's my really bad Bela Lugosi voice.
Look, the voice was stupid, but like you could see that he had something else in him besides this pompous ass character. He has a little bit of range, and you know, like you guys have talked about how he has been in like 24, and he always played the villain.
Yeah, and Game of Thrones as well.
You can kind of see the beginnings of that, right? And it wasn't like he's not going to win an Emmy for it, but like it was.
Wait, he didn't? Spoiler.
No. He did not. There was no Emmy for Alexander Siddig in this episode.
But I didn't totally hate his character in this episode, which I have in a few of the others.
Yeah, I mean, that's an improvement for you.
That is.
Jessi?
I hate to admit that I agree with Christopher. And I'll deny it if you ever fucking say it out loud.
This is being recorded. I'm sorry.
Oops. He does have a little bit of depth. At least he made it seem like he was 2 different people. And you could tell like a marked difference between the 2 different people. So, I mean, whether you love the voice or hate the voice, I didn't really even pay attention to the voice. What's Shannon always call him, the little puppy doctor. He did have a little bit more depth today in his acting skills than like I've seen for the rest of the show. So, I mean, I guess it could have been worse. There was a whole season full of Babylon 5 that I absolutely fucking hated. So
this is true.
I can promise you, and I think I've already promised this a couple of times, DS9 gets better. Unlike B5 that may not get better at the very end, DS9 gets better.
Listen, I would love to believe you. And I think at one point in my life, I actually did. And then we did 5 seasons of Babylon 5. And now I don't believe a fucking thing that comes out of your mouth.
I will say that most fans, I think I can say this without getting added a lot, will say that seasons 5 and 6 are the best seasons. I will say I do enjoy season 7, and the last like 8-9 episodes of the show are amazing.
Okay, they better be, because I can't handle another, oh, this is awesome, and then what the fuck is this whole season full of bullshit? 22 episodes of just absolute fucking unnecessary nonsense.
Jessi, I'm going to co-sign with Scott. It gets better. Believe me, when season 4 starts, that's when it really gets on fire. It's going to be fun. There's going to be a lot to talk about.
I would actually argue the season 3 kind of kicks it off.
True.
But yeah, season 4 doesn't.
How many more episodes of season 1 do we have?
22 minus 7, so...
Holy shit.
Just a head roll.
15.
Can we do like 3 episodes at a time?
We talked about that. I didn't think you guys could handle it. I want to give Move Along Home its own ability to marinate. We need to let that one on its own. Then we can figure everything out after that. But yeah, no, I would agree, Prentice. I think I still think that there's some really good stuff in season 1. There's some really good stuff in season 2, and then we're off to the races. I will say with this episode, Ira Stephen Bear, again, at this point, he is a supervising producer. He will be the showrunner after a little bit. He did not like this episode at all, for the same reason that I mentioned earlier, is it was like a TNG carbon copy. What Ira Stephen Bear wants is a show that is not the normal Trek. We've already had 2 shows of Trek, TOS and TNG. He wants something to be different, and it will definitely be different when he takes over.
What's TOS?
The original series.
Oh, got it. Sorry.
Yeah, the original series. That's the 3 seasons with Kirk, Spock, and McCoy.
I know a Spock.
I know a Spock, and I've seen a Star Wars.
I've seen one Star Wars.
I think, Jessi, you asked me, what was the reaction of this show when it first came out? Like, was there a lot of racial tinge issues with it compared to the other shows? I had to sit back and I thought about that. And I was going to say, now that I think about it, the internet wasn't really a thing back then, so you didn't really see it as much. Whereas Voyager was coming out when you had AOL chat rooms and people were talking about it that way. So I think the major difference is just that each show came out at a different time. So I want to amend that statement. I really thought about it.
It kind of makes sense even now. I mean, this country, if you're in the United States, has elected a black man, still has not elected a woman. There was a lot of backlash with Janeway in Voyager because she was a female captain. I don't remember Cisco getting a lot of that. Probably did, but I don't remember a lot of it. And also, Cisco isn't... Yeah, but I was pretty plugged in, man. Pretty plugged in. I was reading the TV guides and shit. But also, Cisco's not a captain. He's a commander, which is a whole thing.
But a commander would make sense on a station like this.
But that was the joke, is like, well, not really a joke, but I do remember people pointing out, okay, you've given a black man in charge of the show, but you haven't made him a captain. He's still a commander. He can't be like Picard and Kirk. So take that as you will.
I mean, that's a fair criticism, but, you know, if you also look at it in like the military type structure, a commander would have this type of command.
Kind of an outpost or base command.
Yeah, especially because like you kind of see how young everybody is, right? The doctor is a lieutenant. This is his first assignment, right? You can see that. You're not going to have an ensign or a JG as a doctor because they have to go through so much schooling. So just by him being a lieutenant and not a commander, you know, you can tell that it's his first command.
We get told that in the first episode is, until the wormhole shows up, this is a shit job. This is like a backwater outpost dealing with a whole bunch of crap. And then the wormhole shows up and it becomes like ground zero for everything. So these guys were placed there not knowing that wormhole existed. And this is what we got.
Kind of getting back into the episode, Lieutenant Primin.
I was going to transition to him next, so go for it.
One, he's a lieutenant, right? So he's young. He seems to be very gung-ho, very Johnny Starfleet. I don't know what to call it, all right?
Prentice already got the red shirts and the flat top guys. So you got Johnny Starfleet.
He's very much by the book. This is the way that we do it in the academy. This is how they taught us. This is what we have to do. Doesn't seem to realize that, look, on a station like this, where you're there, but you're not really in charge because it's still a Bajoran station. But you can kind of see Starfleet taking a little bit more of a foothold by placing him there and placing a security officer there.
How did you all feel about Odo immediately saying, I fucking quit? Like, almost immediately.
Very Odo of him.
If somebody came from Starfleet and immediately criticized how you do your job.
To be fair, Odo did announce loudly in the bar that there's a shipment coming in, Quark. I know you're going to screw with it.
Yeah, but is he also not just kind of telling Quark, I know that you know that I know that you know that this is coming in?
Well, now Morn at the bar knows too, is the problem.
I know, but look, loose lips sink ships. I get it. But believe me, I've sat out here at restaurants within sight of the Chinese embassy and heard people discussing troop movements. All right? People are stupid and they talk this way.
If you didn't know, Christopher lives in Nebraska. That's where he's at. And he's also in the Army, based on all his naval understanding.
Yes.
He's a seaman.
He's a seaman.
Here we go.
He's dying. He's dying as we speak.
Jessi choked him.
How many buttons are there, Christopher?
On the pants?
Yeah.
13.
Okay. We've had this conversation many times for many reasons.
Yeah, they got rid of them.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not. Not that I ever have to wear them again. No, they put a zipper in, and so the buttons are purely decorative. Whereas when I was in, you had to button every single one. And if you had the P in that uniform, God, I hated that.
They don't handle change well.
Okay, back to Primin.
Those uniforms those were 250 years old, and they still haven't changed them, but now they added a zipper. Back to Primin.
God forbid we make things more convenient for individuals. I had to suffer, so you fuckers have to suffer too.
That's exactly what it is.
And they have bell bottoms and a flap.
Yeah, but But you guys look so fucking cute in your little Cracker Jack outfits.
I do. I'm not gonna lie. Every time I go to O'Hare and I see some naval kids like getting shipped off for the first time, I was like, "Oh, look at them in their little things."
And they are little babies.
Yes.
I remember that one asshole that you met thought we were old because we were 24. Still salty about that bullshit. Anyway.
It's okay. Emily still looks like she's 12. It's fine.
The gray hairs say no, but I'll take it.
So, Primin.
Doesn't matter. No one cares about
it.
Move
on. I love that you're trying here, but goddamn.
I am curious, though. I mean, Christopher, you gave your point there, but anyone else on Odo and Primin, their interactions, how Odo dealt with that, how Primin dealt with it, anyone want to add?
Odo stood on business. He's like, I see what's going on. He has a high emotional IQ. He said, you're not going to replace me. I see what's going down. I'm going to confront this head on. Went to Cisco's office, said, you know what? What is the deal? Are you getting rid of me? What's my authority? What's going on? I like that about Odo. He got it straight out of the way. He's like, I'm not going to beat around the bush. He's like, I know corporate politics. I've seen this for years. Just tell me straight up. Am I the guy in charge? If not, I'm out of here.
And that's the key. Not so much for me was am I going to stick around or not? The fact that Odo said, when we have a conflict, who's in charge? And Cisco said Odo. And that's, in my experience in organizational politics and everything else, that's the question that most people don't want to answer or can't answer. And the fact that Odo got an answer says something about Odo for asking the question, but also says something about Cisco for answering the question. That's some good leadership there. Jessi.
I can't stand you guys need to work together leader.
Oh.
Like, you tell me who's in charge so I understand what's happening and then we'll act accordingly. I've heard it before. You two work it out amongst yourselves. No, that's not what you hired me for. And so now you've got two of us and you're wanting us to split. No, you just let me know. I can't. I was pleasantly surprised to hear Cisco say, here's your decision. He didn't bat an eye or anything. It was just like very matter of factly.
Well, and especially with a matter as important as security, you need to have that understanding of who is in charge. And you can't have it, it can't be shared. Somebody has to say, I am the one, this is where the buck stops. And good for Odo for getting that answer.
Yes. Well, because I've seen situations where everybody tries to act like they're in charge and it's pure fucking chaos. Everybody's yelling, nobody's listening, like there's no like structure. It's just a bunch of people trying to wear the pants and it just doesn't work out like that. Like, especially when it comes to security and safety and stuff like that. Like, you have to have somebody that's in charge. You need to, I don't care who it is. Somebody needs to stand up and be that person. It's hard not to be that person when you're in that situation, because especially security minded people, especially people who are used to taking charge, everybody wants to just get to it and not hem-haw around it. And they were both trying to, like, you could hear them when they both called security and or whoever they called, they were like, and they both said the same thing. You guys are on the same page. You need to understand the hierarchy though. Who is supposed to call? Who is supposed to make these decisions? And it was Odo. And I appreciate Odo giving him the benefit of the doubt, but I'll tell you, one too many of those times and I'd have been like, you need to understand where you're at and who you're working for and what your position is. And if you have suggestions, I would love to hear them, but fucking know your place. Like, not trying to be rude, but somebody needs to take charge here and we can't both be wearing the pants. So.
Especially if they have 13 buttons. Christopher.
Well, and again, it comes down to, if you would have said Primin is going to be the one who's more in charge, then I think you're going to start to see that, Starfleet is going to be taking over more and it's not necessarily going to be Bajoran controlled. By saying, no, Odo, you're in charge, Cisco is reaffirming that, look, we're guest here and we have to act accordingly. And I think he said that to Primin, you and I are guests here.
Yeah, and I would actually ask for the audience on this one because I'm curious. And Christopher, Emily, and Prentice have watched TNG, so they could answer too. Jessi, you're just going to stare blankly at me. I'm curious to wonder how Picard would have handled that, because I think Picard is much more by the book, by Starfleet, and I think he would say, okay, I've got a Starfleet security officer here, he's in charge now. Whereas I think Cisco definitely is an odd duck, and that's why I appreciate Cisco a lot.
I disagree. I I think Picard may have stated it a little bit differently, but Picard was always sensitive to cultural issues that he encountered and wanted to be the diplomat. And in that situation, as Starfleet is essentially the guest and their caretaker, I still think it would have played out the same way, that Odo would be the primary security person on that stage, just to respect the Bajoran people. But beyond that, it's just a matter of tact. I think Picard would have did it differently, but it would have been the same thing.
And if it were Kirk, he would have screwed Kajada and called it a day. So
no doubt.
Well, yeah.
That would have happened, yes.
And if Riker was there, it would have been him, so.
The last thing I have for you all, and then I'm definitely out of trying to drag this thing out, is what are your all thoughts on Quark? This is actually the first episode where we have seen Quark himself commit a crime, or at least have the attention to commit a crime. We saw Nog and Rom, his brother and nephew, commit crime, but this is the first time we have seen Quark try to. He fails, but he tries to.
Well, he also says he's just like the middleman.
Yeah, he's just the middleman. He's just the middleman.
He's just the middleman. But, you know, anything for $1, right? That, it just, I mean, he's Ferengi. So his morals, as long as he can make $1, he doesn't care how he goes about it, you know? Is it illegal in whose eyes? He gets to make $1. Who cares?
Quark is always a cartoony representation of capitalism. It's over the top, it's funny, and it gets better with each episode. So I appreciate Armin Sherman for playing the role so well. I always think he's one of the most fascinating characters. And the funniest to me, he's the comic relief, but in the good way. I'm not laughing at him like, oh, this guy's pathetic. It's like, that's actually kind of funny. And I'm actually glad he's there for the comedic relief and being somewhat real in terms of how things may work in real work. I'm telling you, we all know a Quark in real life. I'm telling you.
I know a guy.
We know a guy, exactly. So to me, I love the character. I love the actor. So it's all good. I like it.
Well,
go ahead, Emily.
I think it also shows like how things were before Starfleet showed up. It was an occupied area. So yeah, there was going to be smuggling. There was going to be a black market. And he's a Ferengi. Of course, he's going to be involved. You know, there's prime profit there. So
Quark was definitely skimming off the top. That's for damn sure.
Absolutely. He wouldn't be a Ferengi if he wasn't.
Nope.
Skimming?
I agree.
Okay.
Prentice, what?
I'll say skimming. I think he's doing way more than skimming at this
He's
point,
got the
but
ladle out and he's dishing it out as he goes.
Dishing it out, man. He's dishing
1
it.
for you, 3 for me. 1
Hey.
for you, 3 for me.
Hey.
We have our first Ferengi episode coming up pretty soon with the Negus. So
I better not have to see any fucking ear gabbing.
Oh, you're gonna see a lot of stuff.
I don't want to.
There is an episode that's several seasons from now where you will see more of Quark than you ever wanted to see.
Nope.
Nope.
I will close my eyes.
Excellent. Good talk. Okay, let's go into our questions and predictions. For those who are just joining us, I'm sorry again for this is the episode you joined us, but we have 2 folks who have not watched past The Passenger, and we're going to ask them if they have any lingering questions or if they have any predictions of what may come next. So, Jessi, questions? Predictions?
No.
No. You did ask one question. Are we going to see Primin again?
Yeah, that one.
That one. Glad I could help you out.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, Christopher, what do you got?
My question is, how lax is security on this station? Because it seems like everyone has access to everything. Every episode, somebody like hacks into it and they're like, oh yeah, we just have access to all this shit. Maybe Odo isn't the man for the job.
When I said that the original premise was Kajada was going to have the spirit or whatever, the last act would have been she told Bashir, because she fell for Bashir, that she had planned a bomb on the station, and the last act is Bashir trying to find the bomb. So there you go. There's your answer. Also, when you said that, I was just thinking back to the poker game in the movie Maverick. Everyone's got a gun. Now I'm gonna have to go back and watch Maverick. Such a good
I do have a question. I would like to know. Sorry.
Yes.
I would like to know if the gun battles ever get better. Because I'm tired of seeing the fucking remote control battles. Okay. Prentice is spoiling it. It's a no. We're moving on.
Star Trek.
I will say one episode title that will mean absolutely nothing to you right now, but anyone who has seen the show will nod in agreement. The Siege of AR-558.
Do they get actual guns or they still got pew, pew?
Prentice is even nodding on this one. The Siege of AR-558. When we get there, you'll know.
You'll know.
Okay, so now with that, let's go ahead and wrap things up for our 2 newbies. Hopefully we'll have some more newbies next week, but we will be back to discuss with them the greatest episode of TV history. And to be honest, I almost named this podcast after this episode. Much like with our Grey 17, I named it after the worst fucking episode of Babylon 5. I almost named it after the worst episode, which is Move Along Home. So we will enjoy Move Along Home, and we will Ama Moraine the hell out of it next week.
Is this a bad episode? Because I think I'm going to be sick.
It's good. You'll want to be here for it.
What I think I'm going to try to do, if we can pull it off, and I know we don't have much time, is if I can get a couple newbies with me to watch the episode live on YouTube. This is one that I think would be fun. So we'll talk about it in the chat.
I will volunteer Christopher.
This is also the episode that I joked about where Avery Brooks pointed out after it was filmed. I did go to Juilliard. I just want everyone to know that. I went to Juilliard.
Oh, God. I don't know why I keep making these decisions. Like, I just must hate myself.
You're all in for a reaction episode.
No, it's the ADHD allows you to forget the horror of what happened before.
As you just said on Facebook to several of us, you've known this for 20 fucking years, and here you are.
Let's just be clear. That's because somebody thought that they were going to jump into some bullshit. And despite listening to 5 fucking seasons of Babylon 5 podcast, and what are we at, episode 6 or 7 at this point, you thought that saying something completely fucking out of pocket and naming me in specific was gonna do something that was not gonna qualify me to come back and be like, hey, by the way, shut the fuck up. Listen, cognitive dissonance, it's at its finest at this point. But
we have shown though that if you really want to get Jessi going, just mention her in a comment, and it's there we go.
Fucking what's his face? The Australian. What's his fucking name?
Ryan.
Hi,
Hey, Ryan.
So Ryan said that I went full on Kira in the comment today. I was like,
I can see it. I can see it.
Yeah, I can
well,
see it.
sometimes you deserve what you get. So there's
You may not get this comment, I'm going to say, but Scott will definitely get it, and maybe Emma. Your pain runs deep. Share.
Listen, without even knowing what that means, the secondary trauma alone that I experience on a regular basis probably makes me a very therapist's wet dream at this point, but it's fine.
Well, Prentice, we did get a reference to Star Trek 3 on this episode, saying that the Vulcans were the only ones who could transfer whatever essences, because that's what happened in Star Trek 3. So it's nice that you referenced Star Trek 5. Good job. Good job.
Are these movies or these shows?
Yes, those are movies.
Can we have Ryan join us for the next one?
I would argue that Star Trek 5 is not really a movie, but it is a film.
They released it in theaters.
I know.
I saw it in the theater back in the day. Yikes. But also, Jessi, a cool reference. Tupac uses that line in one of his songs.
Say it again. What is it?
Your pain runs deep. Share with me. He uses that to open up one of his tracks. So, Scott, you can Google it. You can find the track. But a lot of people are like, Star Trek Prentice? Where is this from? I'm like, oh, yeah, Star Trek 5. They're like, how do you know that? Because I'm a nerd.
Please.
Cybok, Tupac.
The connection. Yes, look it up, Jessi. You'll see.
Jessi's seen a Star Wars.
I haven't seen a Star Wars, but I know a Tupac, so don't play with me.
I'm sorry, 2-pack shaker? What?
Two-pack
shaker.
I saw a TikTok the other day that had a guy that looked just like Tupac, and somebody cut.
It is Tupac. He's still alive.
They said, "Listen,
him and Elvis get drinks together."
You couldn't have argued otherwise with me in high school, but I saw this guy like stitch it, and he's like, at this point in our life, Tupac coming back from the dead wouldn't even make top 5 in the news.
It really would.
We are absolutely in the worst timeline, so it's okay.
Hold please, because I want to see what this song is.
Okay.
So while Jessi was off not making friends, we did make a friend, and she was a Dane. So, Myra, thank you for saying nice things about us.
Well, Danes are cool. I know. I've been there. They have great pastries.
So fun fact, it's from the song Pain, which comes from the movie Above the Rim. Hold please.
A movie soundtrack that references another movie.
He said, I couldn't help but notice your pain, my pain, it runs deep.
Yep.
Share it with me. No, thank you. Will not be sharing anything with the pain, period. Okay, can we go home now?
Another fun story for our Trek fans out there, and Prentice, you'll appreciate this, and I'm doing this legitimately just to piss off Jessi, is in the original script for Star Trek 5, all of them shared their pain with Sybok, and Kirk was the one who said, no, I won't. But Leonard Nimoy was like, yeah, he wouldn't betray Kirk, ever. So they had to change the script a little bit.
Did I catch a 9er in there?
Yes.
Are you calling from, I swear to God, you're not even speaking English at this point. So thank you for joining us today.
Okay, on that note, I've been Scott, and with me has been
Emily,
Christopher,
Jessi and Mike suck.
Alrighty now, Prentice.
God damn. Okay. Remember to like, subscribe, follow, check out all the links. If you're listening on YouTube, we have an audio podcast. If you're listening to the audio podcast, we have a YouTube. And maybe you'll get to see us do some lives here pretty soon. So make sure if you go to the YouTube, do click that notify bell icon so you know when we do hop on there. And please, if you can, leave a review. Help us out. And if you can, join our Patreon where you can also get access to our Discord. So again, we're going to all Moraine out of here, and we'll be back next week for Emily.
Ella Moraine.
Well, yeah, but we're going to be back next week for...
It's Move Along Home.
There you go. Good job.
My brain feels fuzzy.
I'm ready.
Shut up, Christopher. Get out.
My body is ready.
What?
No.
What the hell is happening?
I need to leave. Let
Your
me the
body
fuck
is
out
ready.
of here.
My
Leave
God.
meeting quickly.
Oh my god. Jesus, that's gonna be one bad hour.
Thank you for listening to Especially the Lies, a Deep Space Nine podcast. You can find all the places to listen to and watch this podcast by searching for Especially the Lies on your podcast app or on YouTube. We want to hear from you, so join the conversation at Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube. Be sure to subscribe and leave a review where you are listening to or watching this podcast. Especially the Lies is not affiliated with, and the podcast has not been prepared, approved, or licensed by Paramount or any other owners of the Star Trek copyright. All clips included in this podcast are the intellectual property of the respective copyright holders. They are included here for purposes of review, and no infringement is intended.
Why have you brought me here? Show yourselves. What do you want?
The Cisco has returned to us.
He arrives with questions.
There are always questions.
Welcome back to... Jessi told me to call it Beyond the Wormhole, but can we call it something else? Because I think Visiting the Prophets maybe, or something.
Yeah, it needs a something else.
I just feel dirty saying Beyond the Wormhole every week.
It is dirty, so let's not call it that at all.
Okay, well, whatever it is, this is the spoiler section. So if you have not watched past this episode, you should leave now. If not, we will answer the one question that we got from our newbies. Emily, what was that question?
Christopher asks, how lax is security?
Pretty damn lax. Wait until the Klingons show up.
Yeah. And they also briefly mentioned it at the beginning, but they're still trying to like fix all the systems that the Kardashians trashed before they left. So
Just said
there's a lot
Kardashians.
Kardashians. God
God
damn
damn,
it.
you've watched the whole show. You're a
I
Trek
know.
fan, and you called them the
I know.
Kardashians.
What? No, you know what? It's because I watched SNL last night, and Kim Kardashian was in one of the episodes with Kristen Wiig. With
two people I can't stand. Okay.
Okay, well, it was a funny fucking episode, but anyway, yeah, sorry. I know better now. If my brain could just get it out correctly. Yeah, so they like destroyed a lot. So trying to fix systems that are constantly breaking, which will come up repeatedly.
And when Chief O'Brien is off making a movie, it's
Right.
kind of hard to fix stuff too. Or I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Keiko is going to her mom's birthday party. That's where he is, not making a movie. Which I did look it up, and I was trying to figure out like what movie was Colm Meaney making at that point. Well, the dude has 147 acting credits, so he was like in 4 movies in 1993. I have no idea which one he filmed at that point, but
Wait, Scott. If this is one of the answers, I'm gonna be very happy. Was it Under Siege Part 2?
he wasn't in Under Siege Part 2. He died in Under Siege 1, didn't he?
Oh, it was one.
Yeah, the
Okay,
good
okay.
one. And by the way, I did look at that one. Under Siege came out in 1991. So it was not Under Siege. And it was not Die Hard 2, where he crashes the plane into the runway. In both cases, Colm Meaney does die. So, spoiler. But yeah, it was not either one of those movies. Although now I have to go watch Under Siege. Thank you.
How many Under Siege were there at this point? Was it like 3 or was it 2?
I think there was only 2.
What are you guys talking about?
Tommy Lee Jones just eats the scenery in that movie amazingly.
I've been told there is a Steven Seagal movie I missed recently where he's still fighting people. He's bloated and fat with the ponytail. I have to see this to complete my life. I have to see this film. So I'm going to look forward on TV, whatever platform to see it. I've been told recently, it's a recent movie he did, and he's doing the action thing, but now he's like 67, I don't know, bloated, the whole ponytail. So I always thought he was the fattest.
There is, if you search online, there's like, he's like a karate master, and like he still does like matches. And the fun part is the guy who's matching him in one of the videos literally just falls over and lets him win because it's Steven Seagal.
Granted, even though he's fat and bloated, I'm not going to talk enough smack to actually go against him, so let that be known. I don't want the smoke from Steven Seagal, because even though he may be bloated, I think he still should do some damage, so I'm going to just shut up and move on.
But if Steven, if you're listening to the podcast, we would love to talk to you about, I don't know, something. It'd be great. You were a cop for a while too, right? Oh, and also you're a Russian informant, but that's a whole nother thing.
What? Oh, I didn't know that part.
Oh, yeah.
He's a Russian informant.
Well, I mean, he went over there for a while and made friends.
Oh, wow.
You have fun with that rabbit hole.
I will.
I gave you the Mandela effect last week. Now I've given you Steven Seagal. Emily, how's your head doing?
You know what? I was trying to find the post on suggestions for what we call this part of the shit show, and I have no idea what the fuck you guys are talking about.
It is. Welcome to the shit show. It's a spoiler section.
Other than Steven Seagal.
Hindenburg after show? What are you talking about? I don't know.
Okay. So, Into the Gamma Quadrant was one I liked, or the Celestial Temple, because, you know, it would be nice to feel like a god.
I do like that. Let's move into the Celestial Temple. I like that. No more wormholes being beyond.
Yeah, it makes the Obies, it sounds like we're important, like we're beyond that. We have ascended. I love that. Like
we have ascended, which means you're gonna find us in the sand on Earth randomly because season 7's weird. Okay.
Yeah, it's weird, but it's good.
I'm not disagreeing. I'm just like, Images in the Sand is a weird fucking episode. But we'll get there in like 5 years. It's fine.
Yeah, it is.
Jesus. It is going to be that long before we get to it.
You signed up, sir.
20, 30? Really?
I don't know. Whatever Emily did for the calendar, she can find out. If we stick to our guns and do once a week, Emily, when will we be done?
Our last drop date will be March 30th of 2028.
Okay.
It's gonna be a while. It's good. And let's see.
That's if we survive. I mean,
yeah.
2032's got the asteroid that's gonna hit us.
We'll be fine.
We'll be fine. There's only a 2% chance of impact. We're fine.
We're fine.
Images in the Sand will be recorded sometime in likely October of 2027.
Cool. Okay.
So there you go.
On that note, the one thing I did want to bring up real quick, because the other question was, do we see Primin again? Yes, we will see Primin next week. Again, he was a filler character to kind of take over for Colm Meaney. But I do see shades of our good friend Eddington, who will show up the first part of season 3. I mean, Odo immediately tries to resign too when Eddington shows up. Same idea. Yeah. So I'm interested to see how the newbies handle Eddington in like a year from now when they get to him.
Yeah, he was I still struggle with his character because I really just want to punch him in the face most of the time.
Yeah, but he is the one who leads Cisco to literally commit a war crime. So,
well, yeah,
the first of 2 war crimes that Cisco will commit in the series.
Yeah, so that'll be an interesting conversation if they survive that long. We'll see if they get past next week.
Move along home.
I actually, at first, honestly, I hated that episode at first, and the more I watch the show, the more I enjoy it because it is just fucking asinine.
Again, these are all professional actors, and they were asked to do what we're going to see them do next week.
I know, but like the first time I watched it, I was like, am I going to die from secondhand embarrassment watching them do Alan Moraine? Because I might.
See, I felt bad for Avery Brooks. That man who has this very dignified persona, singing and hopping, I said, you know what? Yeah, we all have to take crap jobs at the beginning of our career or mid-career. God bless him, because I'm laughing out. Like, I know why you said I studied at Juilliard. You try to justify stuff.
And he's also realizing he signed a 6-season contract, and this is episode 8.
My God. But anyway, sorry, Scott. Go ahead.
No, you're good. I did do some research on Move Along Home, and I'll bring this up next week. The little girl is no longer an actor, but she is a lawyer. So.
Oh, Oh,
Yeah,
great.
yeah.
You know what? I'm gonna have to revise my score of the episode. It really was bad. I don't know if I was just having.
It really was bad.
I don't know if I was having a good day or if I had a good meal. I was just so relaxed I didn't care. But in retrospect, talking about it, I'm gonna have to lower that grade down to a 4. So
was there an edible involved?
No. Can't be doing that. But I came to my senses just now to say.
We sold you on the fact that this was a shit episode.
It was. You sold it. And I'm like, yeah, it was. It was.
Okay, we'll go ahead and end it there.
Defended it like an hour ago.
Yeah, be sure to click all the buttons, do all the stuff, and come back next week so you can listen to all of our newbies wonder why the hell they signed up for this. Until next week, I'm Scott, and with me has been
Emily
and Prentice.
And let's Alma Moraine all the way home.
God, that was corny. Okay, great. That's beautiful.
I feel like that should be the intro to this entire episode. God help us.
Okay, folks, this was something.
All right, see you next week.
Have a good night.
I couldn't help but notice your pain.
My pain?
It runs deep. Share it with me.
Well, I was very impressed, Doctor.
And well, you should have been.
I feel privileged to be in your presence.
Oh, glad to have you along.